welcome back to Care Hoax videos. I'm Janet Cimorelli. I'm here today with Dr. Herb Slavin, and this series of videos we're talking about brain health and unfortunately diagnoses that you might have with regard to anxiety, depression, memory loss, and even dementia. And what we're talking about in this segment is solutions. And as a nutrition counselor, certainly a lot of the solutions that come to my mind with regard to minimizing the possibility of memory loss or even feeling anxious and depressed. Let's talk about sugar. Such a variety of different ways that you may be getting sugar into your body, and this overwhelming wave of sugar hitting your brain, that it can have a dramatically excitatory effect on your neurotransmitters. And then as your body produces insulin to reduce your blood sugar level, you may very well have a crash of a little bit of lethargy, brain fog, that kind of thing. And so I talked about the hidden sugars. The hidden sugars, and the one I'm going to pick on is pasta sauces. So a pasta sauce that you're going to pick off the shelf in the grocery store, take a look at the ingredients. It might not necessarily be tomatoes, olive oil, and a little salt. It may very well be tomatoes, olive oil, and some sugar. So take a look at some of the processed packaged foods that you might be choosing and see where you might be exposed to more sugar than you know. Dr. Slavin?
No, sugar is definitely something you want to limit. But under the same topic, you want to completely avoid artificial sweeteners. It hasn't even been shown to be beneficial to diabetics.
I'm going to say that I see routinely diabetics who tell me that they're using non-calorie sweeteners. And I've even seen diabetic educators' recommendations to those diabetics that include using things like equal aspartame, sucralose, and their blood sugars, in spite of maybe as many as 3 different medications, are still unstable.
I think I remember hearing someone talk about a test that they ran themselves, where they drank a can of regular soda, and then they drank a can of diet soda, and then checked their blood sugar after each one. And both cans raised their blood sugar, even though it was an artificial sweetener, a 0-calorie sweetener. So here's another hoax that where you've been misled. No, the real solution is to try and eat as healthy as you can, which means cut back on the processed foods. That's the main thing. You cut back on processed foods, you've corrected most of the problems. So how do you know if a food is processed? It's in the can, it's in a container, it's not in the produce section or in the meat section. Everything else in the store is processed. That's why you have to read the labels, because they'll sneak things in there that are not necessarily good for you under a strange name that you don't recognize, and you eat it.
Beware of natural flavors. Natural flavors can be a kind of hidden label on your packaged food, and it really means MSG, monosodium glutamate. And according to a book written by Dr. Russell Blaylock, the neurologist, he talks about the neurotoxicity associated with MSG. But the other suggestion that I have is to eat organic foods. And why is it so important that you choose organic foods? And so your fruits and vegetables, as much as possible, go the organic pathway. Why? Because pesticides work on the but they work on the neurology of the insect. So have you ever seen an insect after it has been exposed to a pesticide? It is no longer able to stand up. It's no longer able to walk in a straight line or fly. And we do know that there is an association with pesticide exposure and the development of Parkinson's disease, which certainly is neurological degeneration.
And GMO-free is not good enough. You know, it's better than GMO, but GMO-free is still exposing you to pesticides, whereas with organic produce, you're avoiding that.
The other thing is, don't abuse caffeine. I know that there are a lot of people out there that really look forward to that brain spark that they get in the morning with a cup of coffee. So 1 or 2 cups of coffee, we see some research that the caffeine has a support to longevity, but it's when you abuse the caffeine that there is a negative response with regard to brain chemistry.
I'd like to talk about coffee for a second too. Organic coffee would be your best choice. Coffee from Europe would be your second best choice. But when you're going to get coffee from Central or South America, if it's not organic, it's been reported that those crops are sprayed a lot.
Very interesting, because the different agricultural spray applications may include chemicals that were banned here in the United States but are not banned in those other countries. It's interesting because it's more and more difficult to find the country of origin in a lot of the different products. It could be clothing, it could be food, and unfortunately sometimes you don't know where it's made, you don't know where the base ingredients come from. Okay.
You said 2 cups of coffee a day is okay?
Yes, and it's interesting because with diabetic research, there's some of the research is saying up to 5 cups of coffee per day.
And I think it becomes even more important to get a good quality coffee that's organically grown. What about, while we're on this topic, wine? A lot of people drink wine.
Yes, they do,
So
and enjoy it too.
They should go towards organic wine. Do you drink wine?
On
Do
occasion,
you get
yes.
organic wine?
Sometimes I had it this past weekend, and yes, it was organic. Okay, very important, because you just don't know what kind of chemicals have been applied to those grapes, and certainly there are different applications that would create a ripening effect to achieve a schedule that is appropriate for the owner of the winery, not necessarily appropriate for the grapes themselves. Some of the suggestions, I have a number of different supplemental suggestions for people. If you're dealing with anxiety, low mood, there's a fabulous extract. It's an amino acid extracted from green tea called theanine, and people absolutely feel the benefit within a very short time of beginning to use theanine. So it could be 100 milligrams, it could be 200 milligrams, but theanine is very safe to take. It will support your serotonin levels. It will actually enhance your concentration and recall.
But you should use that after you've corrected any thyroid issues
True.
or sex hormone issues, because you don't want to leave those untreated,
True. This
uncorrected.
Okay, but this is a supplement, and that's very
Afterwards.
much how we need to look at some of these suggestions that I'm making.
Okay.
It's a supplement to a high quality diet and lifestyle.
So what Janet is actually saying
What am I
is
saying?
drugs are the treatment of last resort, and there are a lot of safe alternatives that, like theanine, that are available to use instead of a drug. And in many cases, that solves the problem, so you don't even have to go to the drug. Unfortunately, insurance doesn't cover the natural products, but they'll cover the drug, and a lot of people will go for the drug and skip the natural product.
Well, I kind of look at the natural products and the dietary changes as my own personal insurance choice.
Well, for sure. I mean, that's what, well, the people we talk to and are watching this program are usually in the same mindset as we are. Hopefully, we'll be changing some minds, people that aren't aware that what they're doing might be harmful to the health. Because I don't think anybody, maybe Janet can correct me on this, deliberately undermines their health. And I say that only because when they get sick, they want to get better. But why didn't they do something to keep themselves from getting sick? Well, they didn't realize that what they were doing was really going to have that much of a negative impact on their health.
Weren't you kind of brought up with the thought process that if I don't feel well, if my digestion isn't working, I can't sleep, I have headaches, I have aches and pains, I have poor energy, that you should speak to your family doctor? And the family doctor would have some suggestions for you. Not necessarily a prescription that you're going to be on for the rest of your life. They would have some very short-term recommendations to see that you're making progress in the right direction. The other part of it is to do some testing. Maybe you are dealing with lethargy, poor energy. They would do a blood test to see that your red blood cell, hemoglobin, hematocrit was that profile of red blood cells was where it needed to be in order to support your energy. I also think coenzyme Q10 is critically important for that oxygenation to your brain, to keep your brain sharp and highly functional. And DHA, not the hormone DHEA, but DHA, an aspect of omega-3. Omega-3 from fish oil. The DHA is specifically to support your brain.
When you were talking about going to your family doctor and he would recommend something, these days you can bypass the family doctor and you can go to the pharmacy. They have healthcare providers there that'll gladly help you choose what drug to take. A lot of them are over the counter now. They weren't over the counter years ago, but there are so many drugs that are available over the counter now. And here again, they're putting these providers in their stores, obviously to sell their product. Kind of a conflict of interest, if you ask me.
How professional might it be when, you're...
Well, it's like going into the hospital and asking the doctor, how should I be treated? Well, with all their services in the hospital.
So the wrap up for the solutions aspect of the healthcare hoax videos would be my recommendation: avoid long-term use of pharmaceutical medication and learn about the substances that are going to be so supportive of good health. Organic foods, organic eggs, whole eggs, high quality wild caught fish. Those are some of the basic suggestions, and I hope that you've gotten some valuable information on this solutions video, and we will be back next time talking about the entire picture of brain health, kind of bringing it all together. And remember that Healthcare Hoax videos, we'd love it if you subscribed. We'd love it if you would share the videos and certainly like our videos. Until next time.